The other day, I received a package from Japan, and in it there was a certificate, beautiful calligraphy, and what it said was that a month earlier, on May 2nd, that this temple, Sensouji, had been registered officially as a temple within the Soto Shu, Soto Zen structures. So now it's a temple. It feels good to get that piece of paper, and there's a natural feeling around it of wanting to understand it as an accomplishment. We built something, and that thing was recognized by someone else as having some validity or some meaning, and it's the first one in Japan. So there's some footnote in some history book that says that this is the first registered Soto Zen temple in, I said Japan, Canada, in Canada. And that feels nice to say out loud. But what I wanted to talk about today, now that this has happened, now that this is official, is that what really happened when someone in some office in Tokyo stamped a piece of paper and said, now, here you are. It isn't that we were recognized in a particular way or that this temple became something else. It was a moment of many moments of communication. It's not so much that someone has noticed us as that we, by building a temple and by putting a flag up that people can see, have said, we're part of something. We're connected, we're joined, we're supported. We know where we are so that others can know where we are. There's a way of talking about robes. This is how I was taught. That though each person sews their own robe, and though there are different ways of sewing robes, different styles of robes, that ultimately there is just one robe, and it's the Buddha's robe. So when you put on a robe, you enter into a very difficult to describe encounter. On one hand, there's what Pamela Winfield, the Buddhist scholar, refers to as a holochronic relationship, where one person puts on a robe, and it's as if they are now in dialogue or in communication in some intimate space with everyone who wears robes. And not just everyone wearing robes, but everyone who ever has worn a robe and everyone who ever will. And at the same time that there is this encounter with the multiplicity of robes, there's just this one robe that looks like this over here and looks like this over here and looks like this over here. My understanding of temples is something similar. There are a lot of temples. And if you go to Japan, for example, when you step into each temple, your eyes catch the things that make that temple unique. And there's often a lot of stuff. It's interesting. There's a different flavor in different places. But more than that, after you step into a few, you start to have a feeling that every time you step into a temple, you're entering the same temple. You're always entering that one temple. Sensouji is Sensouji, and I don't know another temple like it. It's unique. But it's also just that one temple. So that when you enter my teacher's temple in Japan, or you enter a temple in California or in Europe, or when you enter this temple, you're always entering the same space. You're entering the same air and the same practice and the same teachings. And you feel that. And again, it's not just all the temples that are out there, it's all the temples that have ever been. And importantly, all the temples that will be. Some of which, maybe here in Canada, will look back on this one and understand their relationship to this directly. We could just build something and not reach out in that way, not ask to be seen in that way, not ask to be included in that way. And in many ways, nothing would change. I would do the same practice. It would look on the surface like the same thing. But when we reach out in that way, we make ourselves vulnerable in that we ask to be held accountable. We're saying, please observe what we're doing, notice what we're doing. Not so that something can be enforced, but so that something can be supported. So that we can verify over and over the connection to what is at the center. You know, perhaps one of the most dangerous elements of entering into any spiritual practice is that so much is unverified. There's so many teachers, for example, who are self-proclaimed teachers. And they may be great. And I actually think some of them are doing a pretty good job. There are a lot of them. But they're accountable to no one. Because they don't claim a lineage, because they don't entrust themselves to anyone, there's no one who can watch. There's no one who can support. And so they operate alone. I sit here alone most mornings, physically alone, not alone. But with a deep felt sense that I am being held accountable by my teachers. And there are many. And part of what makes that feel supportive and part of what makes that feel safe is the knowledge that they also have that feeling about their teachers, even if their teachers are gone. They have that feeling about their own community of temples and practitioners. Everyone holding everyone, everyone being held by everyone. That's what I feel when I see that certificate in the mail. A written declaration that yes, we're in this together. And so we do things in a particular way. I do things in a particular way. To the degree that I can, I do things in the way that I was taught, even though sometimes I can think of more fun ways of doing them. I shave my head and I dress in this way because this is what I was taught, because I feel held accountable in this. And there are things that I don't wear. Colors of robes, for example, because the tradition says you can't wear that or you can't wear that yet. And on one level, it doesn't feel like a meaningful rule. But I feel grateful not to be in the position to create this practice from scratch. I feel grateful to be held in that way. So last month, this temple was recognized. A year before that, we opened it officially when Yoshitani Roshi came. And I think we started to feel then, oh, we're part of something bigger. Now that we've taken these steps, now that we've put out that flag or that beacon, there are eyes on us. And there's encouragement to do more. And so next year, right around this time, June, we're planning to do some of the ceremonies that further establish the temple as a temple. Deepening these roots even more. We'll do a set of ceremonies called Shinsan Kesse. And to do that, we'll invite 11 or 12 or maybe more priests from around the world to gather here to see this temple with their own eyes and to consecrate it together. And also to cement for this community how profoundly we are a part of something bigger. This is the beginning of a conversation for me about where we are, how we are positioned in the world of this tradition. Not just in the practice that we do, but in the practice that so many other people are doing with us. So I'll stop here for today, but there's more.